Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Hey, we're a year old. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Xbox's biggest game leaking early. It's going to be a good one because we have Lex Luddy on the show. Lexi, how are you doing?
I'm here. I'm celebrating. I'm in the festive spirit. I'm wishing you happy anniversary,
Thank
Mike. Which is a normal thing to do. It's been a year. Do you want to know where I was when I found out that that Giant Bomb may not have been a thing? I was about to sit down to watch Thunderbolts in the cinema because I was
my God, really?
It's been a rough week. I'm gonna take an early day off this Friday. I think it was a Friday. I was like, I'm going to take an early day off. I'm going to go to the cinema, go for a nice long walk out to the cinema. And I get there and I sit down and I look at my phone and I see a bunch of ominous messages on Blue Sky. And I was like, well, now time to watch a movie for 2 hours and see what happens when I come out.
And then by the time you came out, we owned Giant Bomb. So yeah, we've been independent for a year, everybody. It's been fast. Kind of nonstop in a lot of really good ways. It's been a good year. We got a cool little video up showing some of a sizzle reel from our first year. We are going to be celebrating everything with a big marathon stream. Mike's going to be playing through Donkey Kong 64. He's starting that today. I don't think he. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think he understands.
No,
that game is not. Like, he's like, oh yeah, it's just a boring platformer. But, I don't think he understands that, it's a grating platformer. It's an aggressively grating platformer. I watched a lot of
especially at 101%, yeah.
Yeah, I watched a lot of that H-Bomber guy streaming it. That man doesn't break easy. It almost killed him.
No, those beavers, they were bothering him. They were definitely bothering him. So that's my one thing, everybody. When we post on social media that he is in Beaver Bother, just show up for that at least. You're not going to want to miss it. I think there is a chance Mike one-shots it, and if he does, then we all have to give. We all have to subscribe to Giant Bomb.
If he doesn't one-shot it, we're going to get a lot of good sound bites of Mike saying things about beavers.
Say just nonstop weird phrases about beavers. It's going to be special and amazing. So
Sean's soundboard is going to be totally overhauled with just Mike Beaver talk.
We will get the Beaver Bother klaxons going, everybody, when it happens. But the whole thing is going to be starting today. And I think basically it's a subathon style. So the more subs that we get, but we're doing this because it's the year's up. We want people to re-up their subscription. We'll be transparent. We're trying to give you guys a fun reason to come back and stay subscribed. This is the first fun reason. So tune in for that. Support us. Support Mikey. Keep him going. Let's actually see him 101% this thing. And thanks to everybody who's just been there for us so far. You know what? Let's get into things and explain ourselves. Yeah, we are Giant Bomb. You could start that support by going to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. Gets you ad-free versions of our shows. Gets you premium access to shows that are only available and exclusive to you if you are a subscriber. Might get you some early access hey, starting today or tomorrow in some cases, yesterday in some cases, Bully, the endurance run has begun. If you are a premium member, you get a week early access. It'll be going up for everybody next week, but why not just go ahead and start watching right now? It was a lot of fun. I hope people are enjoying it. And we're going to be putting those up every weekday until it's done. So tune in for that. And then, that's giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. Thank you. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Directive 8020 reviews are in, 76 on OpenCritic. Let's see, Tech Raptors, Andrew Stretch wrote 7.5 out of 10 and said, Directive 8020 does a lot correctly, but tends to get in its own way instead of letting the player sit in the uncomfortableness. The new turning point system makes exploring new outcomes a breeze, though. Day one gave it a 7 out of 10. I believe this was Jesse that wrote this. Directive 8020 is a solid sci-fi yarn let down by some early snark-filled writing. The plot is serviceable in showing you some gorgeous locations full of people you may or may not want to save, and a bevy of monsters you'll get bored hiding from. If you've enjoyed the studio's previous works, then rest assured that Directive 8020 may well be worth checking out. Lexi, I believe you played this, right?
Yes, I reviewed this. My review is up on Gamer Guides right now. I gave it a 79 out of 100. I like it quite a bit. I think it's pretty obvious why they have not been leaning into the Dark Pictures stuff with this game. This is a Dark Pictures game, but it is much more in line with the size and I'd say the polish of something like The Quarry or what's it again? Until Dawn, of course. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this game. It has one or two genuine, surprising plot twists in it that I thought were pulled off pretty well and kind of play into the structure and the format of these games in a way that I quite like. I also quite like that the characters are one that like they just have more time to develop them in a way that the usual Dark Pictures games just really don't. And also, all of them are like good at their jobs. They're not dirtbag teenagers, which like you can have endearing dirtbag teenagers. I think Until Dawn, Mike especially in that game is like really good. The jock who gets the shit beat out of him throughout that game. But I think that all of these people being quite competent and good at their jobs and generally able to like keep track of things and logic things out is really refreshing for the like compared to the usual more slashery victims in these games. It's much easier to keep these people alive because they are able to think through what they are doing. I also think the turning point system is a much better way.
Yeah, tell people what that is.
Basically, in previous games you could you'd see at the end of the game all the decisions that you'd made and how they kind of butterfly affected down what path you went down. And if you wanted to go and see other decisions, you had to start from the beginning of the game or load a chapter and then continue from there. This allows you to rewind to literally every single previous decision, no matter what it is, whether it's a dialogue choice or whether it is one of the bigger, like, branching points of the narrative. It allows you to jump back to one of those and pick something different. And as you look through the kind of mind map of the game, which, you know, tells you where you made your decisions and what they led to, it also tells you what decision would let you get the other outcome. So if you see what one of the characters dies in because, you know, in a chapter, and you pause it, and then you see that there's a version of events where they wouldn't have died, it will tell you, like, oh, back in chapter 3, if you had set this up, they would have been fine. So you can rewind back to chapter 3 and just start from there. And it's, again, it doesn't totally relieve the, like, fact that you do have to replay through all of the section leading up to that point then again, but it allows you to at least know where to start to make that decision and quickly jump back to it. And it is like an almost instantaneous, you just jump straight back to that point. The game also introduces a collectible towards the end that does tie it into the rest of the Dark Pictures universe. Up until that point, it's barely connected. And basically that's a reason to continue exploring your save file and looking in different scenes again for more collectibles. And if you do that, you'll unlock a thing, and there's a whole thing that wasn't even in the game when we played it, but they've said they will patch it in with the day one release. So, yeah, I think this game stands alone really well compared to the rest of the Dark Pictures games, and I think that, like, even just the one character, Cernan, is way more interesting than almost any other character they've written if you keep him alive long enough and you hear some of the, like, stuff that he has to deal with. And yeah, I quite like it. It's not perfect. These games have a habit of feeling quite disconnected in places because they do have to account for certain characters not being alive, or maybe you not learning certain pieces of information. So sometimes they do just feel slightly disjointed. But like it's not the end of the world, and also this game is designed to be replayed multiple times so that you do get that whole story or a bigger insight to what was really happening. So yeah, I really like it.
Excellent. Yeah, while you were talking there, I was kind of glancing at some of the previous Open Critic scores for the Dark Pictures games and other supermassive games, basically. And this is just right in kind of the middle. It's maybe on the higher end, actually, in terms of just where the scores are coming in. A 79 for The Quarry. This is 76. A lot of the Dark Pictures games, the other ones, are in that range or lower. And I think, as much as it's a cliche at this point, and we do rightfully ridicule it, fans of the genre shall rejoice here, right? I mean, if you like these games, this is another one of those without sort of anything that's going to necessarily push you away, and maybe some neat features that might help you explore the game, like the turning point system, right? Yeah, that's my read on these reviews so far.
The degree to which they lean into, hey, this is just the thing in space, is kind of like, yeah, we know that like you are literish in the horror genre, and as the game progresses, it actually subverts some of that stuff in a way that I thought was really fun. For a game that is so like it is aware that the people who are playing this have probably watched The Thing and have probably watched Alien, and it does some clever twists on that stuff as the game goes on. And it plays around with time in some interesting ways that I really liked. This game is, like, yeah, fans of the genre is one way to put it, but I do think it's engaging in a way if you do like that stuff, in a different way if you do like that stuff. So that's kind of why I was drawn to it, because I do really like, horror and horror movies and shit like that.
Right. Yes, that makes sense as well. Did you? I can't remember. Is this the one that also has, or maybe they've done this in recent games and it carries over here, built-in sort of multiplayer function where multiple people can play at the same time and have input on the choices?
So this one, as far as I can tell, the multiplayer is much more in line with Until Dawn, which was kind of a pass the controller thing.
Yeah. Okay.
In some of these games, it was like, oh, if you split up, then one player online has control of these characters and another player online has control of these characters. And that is not here in this one. And I think that actually serves the story better, because they don't feel as compelled to constantly separate characters for no good reason. And it kind of just gives the game a more naturalistic feel to it for most of it. I think that the multiplayer stuff is mostly just pass the controller kind of stuff.
Yep, makes sense. Once again, that's Directive 8020. It is a 76 on Open Critic. Lexi seems to be pretty. You seem like you liked it. When is it available? What is it up now? Is it available to purchase now?
I think it's a few days. Okay. I can check the release. If you are unsure on this game, I would recommend. I bet the Nextlander folks will play through this, watch that stream, and have a look, because they like those games. Yeah, it is out the 12th, so it's out tomorrow.
I was listening to the Planorama over there on the Nextlander, which helps me plan the month as well. So thanks for doing the work for me, guys. And they were talking about it on there, and they were interested in the turning point system and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll be watching them play as well. All right, let's get to the next story. The biggest Xbox game kind of period at this point just leaked early. Forza Horizon 6 has leaked online, and they have cracked it, so now you can play it early right now on PC. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The PC version of Forza Horizon 6 appears to have been leaked online ahead of its full release. The much-anticipated sixth game in the Forza Horizon series is set for general release on May 19th, with early access available from May 15th, basically this Friday, for people who buy the premium edition. However, as noted by numerous sources online, including the Gaming Leaks and Rumors Reddit page, the PC version has been acquired, cracked, and made available for download by pirates. Well, the main reason for the leak has not been fully... All right, touche. Well done. It's not been fully and officially confirmed. For the main reason, that is, the leading theory is that the preloaded version of the game was uploaded to Steam's backend on Sunday by a developer, but was done so without any encryption. This reportedly made it possible for certain individuals to download the files and apply a crack to make the game playable. that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like, people could just go into Steam servers and find a game if it's been uploaded, even if it's not been released. It feels like multiple things must have failed here. VGC has seen the game available for download on certain websites, but has not downloaded it and therefore cannot verify its validity. Although people are just playing it now, people have been sharing stuff online. So, yeah, wow, this is God. Xbox can't do it. Like, if there is a rake that could be stepped on, they'll find a fucking way.
You know the phrase, like, couldn't catch a break if, like, for love nor money, like the idea of, like, you no matter how much money, you couldn't catch a break. Microsoft have infinite money, and they literally can't catch a break in a way that I find, like, pretty fucking poetic these days.
Yes, right, exactly. It's like, it's maybe karma. I don't know. Yeah, so this is the game that just sells for them. Does very well. This one feels like it is going to be a monstrous hit. And so for this to happen and kind of just, it's going to take some of the wind out of the sails. Obviously, the Xbox version is going to probably still do just fine. Although it's on Game Pass. Although that happened last time. And when they had the early access thing, people still paid a bunch of money on top of their Game Pass subs to play it early. They'll still sell a lot of copies of this game. But this is the one that was supposed to be like their big winner this year. And now I bet... I don't know. I kind of feel like just checking a pirate site and seeing the number of seeders for this thing right now. I bet it's pretty high. I bet there's already 100,000 plus people seeding this thing. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
It is very funny that people who are pirating this game can play it through Steam by adding it as a non-Steam game. Yep. But I can't play it through Steam because I was given a Microsoft Store code, and Microsoft doesn't allow you to add their games to Steam. If you... I just want to use Steam input. I just want to take a screenshot with my controller, goddammit. Sean also left you a note here in the news story.
The Forza files were uploaded to Steam without DRM. Yes, I did hear that. Then I heard they only had Steam DRM, which, Sean, you're in chat, you could correct me, is basically the same thing as no DRM at all, is kind of how that works these days. But I don't know. Like, either way, this is a big mess up because this game was going to sell a ton on Friday. It probably still will. But Microsoft, coming off their most recent financial earnings, was like, hey, our hardware is obviously not selling. Nobody wants that. But also, our games are selling less than they were last year. And then Forza Horizon 6 was supposed to come along and change that fate. Again, it probably still will. I don't know. Do you think this has a measurable, detrimental effect?
I mean, these games sell really well on PC, but they sell their best on consoles. Like, we do know that. And so it's not been cracked on consoles. But yeah, I think it's super interesting to see if this does affect sentiment in any way. The Forza Horizon games are, like, so known quantities in some ways that in some, like... reviews for this game are kind of just gonna be like, yeah, it's Forza Horizon. You know, they didn't wind up making a third-person shooter. Weird, but ultimately, people.
What if the reviews are like, no, wait, this is actually Fable. They actually just put Fable in here instead.
Yeah, they fucked it up and they uploaded Fable to Steam without DRM. But yeah, like, I'm curious to see what the desire for this game for free is. You know. If that's what the proposition being presented to people now is, because, like, if this got cracked a couple of days after launch, it wouldn't get as many news write-ups. It's getting news write-ups because it's happened before launch. Yes. So that's the thing spreading the information now, is that this happened before launch. And I'm curious if that drives people to be like, oh, there's a way to play this game for free. So yeah, I'm curious.
I don't even know what pirate sites people go to anymore. I'd have to. I'm like, I tried the Pirate Bay, and that website is always like, is this real? This is probably just a honeypot now. Yeah, and then Jan says, I can't. Jan added a note here. I can't believe he didn't read oopsie. Yeah, my bad. Sean said the Forza files were uploaded to Steam without DRM. Parentheses oopsie. There you go. My bad. I apologize. What were you going to say, Lexi?
I feel like you haven't had to care about getting games on the cheap ever since you got that press account.
Yeah, it's made some differences. Yeah, at this point, I'm like, I'll just wait. Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if you were to calculate how much money you've saved
It's a lot
over the years
Yeah,
by
I mean, I'm
having a
still.
Steam Press account.
I was telling somebody like I was doing my taxes, and I'm like, man, I still spend a lot of money on games because I'll write it off of my taxes. It's like this is still four figures. But yeah,
I mean that's because you're a Nintendo mark. Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
that's just because you're buying all those copies of 1-2 Switch again.
I mean, that is exactly what it is. You got me. Hey man, I'm playing Forza Horizon 6, everybody, and yeah, hey, that game's gonna be out soon. We could talk about it more then. Several Xbox users managed to download, here's a different story, everybody, Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight 10 days early. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight briefly became playable over the weekend, with a small group of Xbox players reporting that they were able to download the game over 10 days before its planned release. Legacy of the Dark Knight is due for release on May 22nd. Over the weekend, a player on the r/Lego Gaming subreddit, man, there's a subreddit for everything, reported that after pre-ordering the game on Xbox, their console notified them that it was ready to play. Typically, when attempting to start a preloaded digital game, it will inform players that they can't use the content until the release date. According to the user, the game started as normal without the usual block. The user uploaded several images to Reddit of him playing the game's opening level to verify the situation. All right, Lexi, I think I know what's happening here. Agentic AI. I think we have AI agents doing the work of people who should be overseeing the uploading and management of these games to make sure that all of the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and the fucking DRM works. And it missed something, and there was no human to intervene and see that was happening. That's my working theory. What do you think?
Yeah, like it is notable that this happened with an Xbox published game on a third-party platform and a game being published on an Xbox platform.
Yes.
Like there's a common element in those two stories, and they happened hours apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to hear the discussions going on inside of Microsoft right now, especially people who handle stuff like, publishing and getting those store pages up and what their current workflow has looked like. And if there's someone very annoyed in a Slack channel going, fucking see, I told you.
This sort of thing has happened before. It's worth pointing that out. This is not like some incredibly rare thing. It's pretty rare still, though. I think it's just notable, as you pointed out, these things happen back to back. It just and involving the same company one way or the other. This one is a little bit, I think, easier for them to put the toothpaste back in the tube a little bit here because they can sort of just strip the rights of people who were playing the game. Although if they hop offline, maybe they can keep playing. I don't know.
It's certainly not a good look,
No.
overall. Like, when you are trying to build a bit of excitement about a potential next-gen Xbox that will be an open PC platform, which, again, playing a game on the Xbox PC native app recently has really, reminded me how much Xbox gaming is not an open system on PC.
Yeah.
It's fucking bizarre. They still do not have a Steam input equivalent, which means that, for the most part, if you launch a game through the Xbox PC app, unless that game has native DualSense support, you just can't use a DualSense controller, or anything that isn't X input, so a Steam controller as well. Which is that's a problem. That's a big fucking problem on PC. Especially if you were trying to allure a bunch of people who maybe bought a PS5 last generation over to the next Xbox console, which will supposedly also be running the same Xbox PC app. Like they said, it's just going to be a Windows machine ultimately. So you should probably have support for the controller that those people own, especially if you're presenting it as an open platform. Anyway, Xbox.
Yeah, there's just a million things that they need to improve across the board here. And it just stuff like this just makes it feel like, it's all kind of a mess. Maybe all these things are unrelated. They could be, right? It's easy to spot patterns where none exist. But when I look at this, it makes me feel like the house is not in order, let alone them being in a position to make improvements to the foundation so that when they are launching a new console that is supposed to work in a new way that the previous console did not work, they have the wherewithal to address the problems and the unforeseen issues that will pop up because of that. Like I think the launch of the next Xbox is going to be messy because it already feels that way. And then they're changing up the way things work to the point where it's like, oh, they're not going to be able to foresee the headaches that people are going to have. They're going to have to put it out into the wild and then sort of respond slowly. And that's where I just don't have a lot of faith in Microsoft's ability to follow up on that stuff, at least in a timely manner.
Did you see that apparently the internal like working project name for improving Windows, like their big like push for we're gonna make Windows better is K2? As in the mountain that
kills everybody?
Yeah, that kills everybody that tries to climb it.
Cool. Sure.
That's real fucking damning indictment of where you let your software get to there.
It's like you're just looking up at this thing and being like, we'll try. It's going to kill us, but we'll try. Hell yeah. I love it. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, there's a little bit more Microsoft news to touch on. We'll do that. If you want to skip out on these messages, you can do so. giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. We will be right back. All right, we are back, everybody. It's Game Mess Mornings. Jeff Grubb, that's Lexi Luddy. Gears of War E-Day may be circling September. This is from John Clark at Day One. A new wrestling event may have given us a clue as to when we can expect to be playing Gears of War E-Day, as it's sponsoring WWE's Triple Mania this September. Announced on May 9th, Triple Mania is set to take place between September 11th through to September 13th. What's more interesting for Gears fans is who is sponsoring the event, which is Gears of War E-Day. While it's not a guarantee that the game will be out and playable by that point, previous video game sponsorships certainly have been timed to coincide with the release of the product doing the sponsoring. We've only seen like Glover, just going back to Glover. Everything goes back to Glover. We've only seen a very pretty announced trailer for Gears of War E-Day thus far. Of course, it's going to be the big sort of follow-up showcase to the Xbox Summer Game Fest showcase. So we're going to get all the details at that point, including, I think everyone expects a firm release date. Every game still, I mean, we talk about it with every release date story, especially anything happening in the second half of this year. Everything sort of is orbiting Grand Theft Auto 6. This game likely coming out before that. Again, this is happening in September, this pay-per-view, a premium live event, I guess I should say. I think that sounds right to me. What do you think?
Yeah, between like being sponsored by a company under BDS boycott and also everything going on with WWE, the vibes sure do seem impeccable for that event. I'm sure that fucking the gingerbread man will also show up and get suplexed by Marcus Phoenix, and everyone will love it.
Oh, do they have Batista show up in like gear or whatever? Probably.
Totally.
Extremely. Triple Mania, I have no idea what this is. It's Mexico. To me, it smelled. Okay, it's in Mexico?
Yes.
Okay, hell yeah. So, shoo. I was like, to me, it reeked of being in Saudi Arabia, but all right. Okay, that's good. I'm not that excited about Gears of War. That would be a lie. I've never been a Gears guy. E-Day could win me over, but I've never been too into Gears. I do recognize it as being one of the bigger franchises for Microsoft, and it's one of those ones that I'm sure they want to get, I'll say, back on track. Not that it's like derailed or something, but I think they want to like make sure it's established for a strong future. I feel like they could pull all of that off, but it is definitely one of those games that I associate with Xbox, which is they have a handful of franchises that have really won over a certain audience that was on Xbox, and they've done those over and over again. And it's like, if you haven't bought in yet, you probably aren't going to buy into the next one. And then at the same time, it feels like it's been shedding fans as people move on to other franchises that have fresher ideas or whatever. Do you think Gears of War E-Day stands to reinvigorate the franchise, reinvigorate Microsoft?
I don't know. Yeah. Like, in 2026, 20 years, going on 20 years after the release of the first Gears of War, and we're still doing, like, Emergence Day? We're still... Okay.
Yeah, of course we are. Yeah.
Ultimately, I just hope that Batista doesn't show up at this event, because he's too good for them.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. He's a good boy, a good, sweet boy, and we want to spare him. Although I'm sure they will pay him because he of his history with Gears. So who knows? If he wants to get paid, I'm not going to blame him. But yes, he's too good for them for sure. There's definitely, this is like the follow up showcase at Summer Game Fest that I'm just personally least excited about, because it's like, the Starfield one I had some hope for. What was the one last year that they followed?
Do you remember what last year was?
It just hit me. It was Call of Duty, wasn't it?
Their one more thing was Call of fucking Duty.
Yeah, man.
And that game turned out great. So yeah,
it lived up to that hype. It earned it, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Just like Saving Private Ryan earned this. That's what Call of Duty did. September, Gears of War E-Day. We'll find out more soon. God, we are within a month of Summer Game Fest really kicking off. So look forward to that. Investors still aren't happy even after Nintendo raised the price of the Switch 2. And God, pour one out for the investors. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Nintendo is raising the price of the Switch 2 in Japan on May 25th and the rest of the world essentially on September 1st, with the U.S. price moving to $500. Furukawa, the president, reportedly told investors that the hikes do not fully cover Nintendo's cost increases. And Reuters reports Nintendo's shares fell about 7% in Tokyo as investors reacted to the price hike and softer outlook. As reported by Reuters, Furukawa explained that Nintendo had come to the conclusion that a number of changes in the market environment, including the rising cost of memory, the weak yen, and rising crude oil prices, were going to remain for the medium to long term, and that the price increases were made with this in mind. Furukawa also said that while the new console prices may increase the barrier to purchase, he's hopeful that a solid and growing lineup of Switch 2 games will eventually encourage more players to buy a Switch 2. We're just kind of like laying out the stuff that we know to be true at this point, Lexi. Raising the price is going to make the outlook softer necessarily, but they do feel like they have to raise the price because all of those pressures he talked about, least of which being the most recent reason, which is rising oil prices. That one's like, yeah, obviously it's going to cost more to ship things. Yeah, but those rising oil prices also like increase the price of petrochemicals, which is plastics, which is in every fucking thing, as Billy Bob Thornton said in Landman. So it's going to be like across the board, they're going to find ways to raise the price of components that all these companies use. So we get that. I think it's not that shocking that investors are seeing that and being like, hey, we're spooked, because they're spooked by everything. But do you think that this kind of encourages even more nickeling and diming and future price increases? Like, are we done, or are we going to keep seeing stuff float up in terms of price from Nintendo and the rest of the companies in this space?
I think like the infuriating thing about this is like investors being like, you didn't raise the price enough because the price of RAM and the price of oil is going up, and looking around and being like, whose fucking fault is it that all the money has gone into AI, so now RAM costs a shitload of, like, who's to blame? We're all looking for the guy who did this.
Uh-huh.
And so, I don't know, like, I desperately hope in the next, 10 months we start hearing stories of these data centers not being built because they, it turns out that the reports of them being unrealistic and the schedules for them being unrealistic were on point.
Right.
And as soon as we start getting a couple hey, these data centers aren't coming together in the way that we thought they would, maybe the world will get better from there. But until that point, things are going to keep going up. They're just going to keep going up because there's nothing to break the pattern. They're sure as shit not going to suddenly broke a piece and the Strait of Hormuz will be open for all to go through again, so that's not going to bring down prices anytime soon. And the AI bubble isn't going to pop unless it actively gets popped by something. It will just keep on going on inertia. And even some would say it should have popped several times before now, based off of certain things we've learned, and the sheer inertia of like, well, it's got to be the next big thing.
There's so much inertia because there are multiple factors, right? It's got to be the next big thing. So there's this huge FOMO among massive investment firms that do make that analyze risk and make those big choices about how to spend all of their trillions of dollars. Yes, they have that FOMO. And then there's the FOMO of the retail investor who is actually does move the needle these days because people, they like felt burned by every time the economy was doing something and they got left behind. And it's like that actually continues to prop this stuff up. The biggest thing is just like index funds, the retirement funds that just put all their money into these things that 60% of the money in the stock on Wall Street right now is just people putting money into retirement accounts and then that stuff getting put into index funds. So the money just keeps flowing in sort of no matter what. And that is continuing to prop all this stuff up. So everyone could just keep saying, look, everyone still believes in this. So everyone kind of looks at each other and is like, all right, I'm not going to miss out on it. And the goddamn, it just hit a new high. The Japanese stock market just hit a new high. It continues to just go and go. And at the same time,
the stock market is like hitting new highs, but like everything's more expensive for me.
Everything's more expensive. And it's like,
I posted this on Blue Sky the other day. When was the last time you felt like you got a good deal at retail? Not like someone did you we're friends and I'll give you this for like a bit off, or like, going to a mom and pop shop and the people there, but like you went to a big name retailer and there was a deal on the shelf and you went, that's a steal. Or like there was a sale online and you were like, this is good value. I feel good about this. Like when was the last time you felt satisfied coming away from buying something?
Right. I think like fast food restaurants have begun flirting with the value meal again and stuff like that. And even those feel temporary. Like they're like 1 week they'll be there and the next week it'll be gone. Because I think they are afraid to give that value back to like make like to reacclimate the consumer to the feeling of getting away with something. They have mistreated us for so long now. They're like, hey, this is the new normal. And no one wants to be the first one to sort of break that. So, yeah. I mean, you also mentioned it, though. I think we might be at peak data center at some point here where just the cost to build one does not justify the value you're going to get out of it. Like, it could be zero. Like, it could zero out where it's like by the time this thing's actually built, it's a little bit outdated. And by the time it reaches its full capacity of like what it's producing, it's 100% outdated. And now we should already scrap this for the next data center. That is obviously unsustainable, and it feels like we might already be there. At the same time, like it's not going anywhere. AI, like the thing I always try to remind people about is there's that 3-prong thing of is it good, or I can do a better, I can do it faster, I can do it cheaper, and AI does it faster and cheaper. It's worse. Everybody's right to say it's worse, but if it's faster and cheaper, most of the companies making these decisions will not care. They will find some way to justify the lower quality. And that's been true throughout free markets from the beginning of time. So it's just not going anywhere.
Yeah, I need to do a little bit more digging around. Like, I actually know people in the engineering space who get contracted out to design these things. And I just kind of want to check in with them and be like, hey, how are you feeling about fulfilling all these like projects? Because they're they're fucking massive projects, and like of course they're taking them because they're big money deals. But like a lot of them, at least the vibe I got was like, yeah, like actually getting these done the days that by time that they are due to be done, that doesn't sound like a doable thing. Because they're complicated builds. They're extremely complicated builds. So yeah, I'm curious.
And they have to pay the premium prices for all those things, like for all the talk of RAM and storage going up in price. The reason that is happening is because the people building data centers are outbidding the rest of the market by extreme amounts. And so if you want to be in that space, you've got to continue outbidding the people who are already outbidding everyone else in the space. So they'll never get like a discount on building that stuff. If anything, it's just going to keep going up in price, making it even more unsustainable.
Genuine question. What do you think the Founders Edition for the next Nvidia like 6090 will be, because I'm betting 3.5 grand, and then the retail versions, the like licensed ones, will be 6-7 plus.
Yes, that sounds right to me. Yeah, it's 3,500 for the reference version. Yeah, that's probably what we're talking about. And even then, it could be 3,800, 3,900, getting close to $4,000. All right, let's keep going here. Shift Up is taking Stellar Blade 2 away from Sony Publishing and away. Shift Up says the next Stellar Blade game will be self-published instead of published by Sony, with the company saying it wants to reach a broad global audience from day one. It also says it is actively exploring further platform expansion for the original game. They mentioned that Stellar Blade's like sequel development is going along smoothly, and they said it's on track to meet their targeted quality standards. Hooray. And then they said this all about, hey, we're going to publish it ourselves. And one of the reasons we're doing that is we just want to make sure that game is everywhere. Now, they did not say what everywhere entailed, which platforms, or really even a timeline. But I think we could safely assume they just want to have it all out on PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. And at this point, probably Switch 2 at launch. This is the sort of thing we have seen happen before, Lexi, where a developer succeeds and then they want to take over publishing because it gives them more control. And then they want to like have those skills of publishing a game, because many of them want to then go publish other people's games. There's money still in their hills, and they got to sort of start somewhere, and that would be starting with your own game. How do you read all this?
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more reviewed Sony published games on Steam. Like, it has more reviews than Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah. So as a bit of a demarcation line, it probably did pretty well on Steam. And if the ongoing thought is that Sony aren't going to bring first-party stuff to Steam anymore, they're probably like, well, we would still like to put things out on Steam, because
without having to make some deal with you to make that, like, to have a carve out or whatever, because that's just a headache.
Yeah, because we have like a pretty active community there and things like that. Man, Lego Horizon Adventure has 382 reviews on Steam.
Oh, really? That's rough.
Who thought bringing that to Steam and not the Demon's Souls remake was the move?
Yeah, that seems like an oversight.
What a fascinating decision that was. Anyway,
I don't know who it was, but I think his name might rhyme with Sherman Cholst.
You're right. And so, yeah, the other part of the story that I don't think is in there is that they also said that they will be continuing to publish Shinji Mikami's game, and that's like all going well and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, like, ultimately, I'm happy that there's another active publisher in the scene, and they certainly seem a lot more stable than some of the Chinese publishers that were coming in around 2020. We've seen what's happened with NetEase, like Gang of Dragon might never release. Right. I'm almost kind of surprised that Romeo is a Dead Man got out the door.
Yeah.
And, if Stellar Blade, for as much as it wasn't for me, like, the combat just seemed way too slow for how much it leaned into the stylish vibe and things like that, and its story just seemed pretty dull. Those people, when they talk about the game, they at least talk about, hey, we like making games. And we specifically went from making a mobile game to we wanted to make something that released on a console, because that felt important to us.
That's what we grew up liking, yeah.
Yeah, we like console games. So, like, I have more faith in them as a publisher than I do a lot of other publishing companies, which are like, yeah, what's going on ever's fucking hot. So, they're at least saying the right thing, and we'll see how that game actually goes. And taking it away from Sony, like, same thing kind of is you expect will happen with... It's the inverse of what happened with Death Stranding, where that went in-house for the PC publishing for Sony, and I'm curious if now Kojima Productions is looking at taking that and doing, if they were to do a Death Stranding 3, would they still be like, we want this on PC? I'm curious.
Me too. All right, let's get through the rest of these stories here relatively quickly. PS5 is drifting behind PS4. Just a little bit more cleanup from the most recent Sony earnings report. PS5 lifetime sales are at 93.7 million. That's really, really good, but it's Notable that only 1.5 million PS5s were sold in the last fiscal quarter, which ended March 31st. That puts the PS5 slightly behind the PS4 when you align the launches still. That was true coming out of the pandemic, because the pandemic, the supply was constrained almost that entire time. And the expectation was, Lexi, I remember having this conversation, I think maybe on the show, maybe with you, is that the PS5 would then slowly kind of crawl back above the PS4 as the supply began to meet demand. And so, well, that's not quite happening. And I think we can chalk that up.
I mean, the supply is no longer the problem, you know?
Increased prices are the problem, right? Yes, one problem replaced the other. And then, you know, it's also worth pointing that these sales figures, 1.5 million PlayStation 5s, were before the price increase, right? We're going to see a bump because of the price increase. Right when that happened, there was a little gap, a couple of days, and people rushed out to get PS5s and especially PS5 Pros in that moment. So we're going to see a bump. But then as things normalize for the new price, it's like the expectation should be that the 1.5 million that sold last quarter when the price was lower, like the chart should just kind of like begin to level off a little bit more, actually. And then, yeah, if you take out the bump you're probably going to see less than 1.5 million sold in the next quarter. That is got to be worrisome until, obviously, Grand Theft Auto 6 comes along. And at that point, they might not have enough PS5s. What do you think?
So this really fucked with my brain. Don Cheadle in chat. So we're in year 6 of the PS5. How much is a PS5 again right now? Off the top of the dome? $700?
Is it 700? I was gonna say $600.
Yeah, the PS4 was on sale for $200 by year 6. There were bundles that you could get.
One of those numbers is much bigger.
Yeah,
like significantly bigger.
Man, that's wild.
Yep, it's a rough comparison. Every single person who buys games knows that's how it used to be. Like, everyone knows. People pay attention to this sort of thing. And so when they see the price at this point, and they've been waiting, because a lot of people like to wait on the sideline, come in much later, that's like this time around, they are just in absolute agony here, trying to sort of be like, oh man, I can't believe that I got screwed over the most by waiting. And so those people are going to begin talking themselves out of making these purchases. Now, again, the hope is, and it's probably correct, that Grand Theft Auto 6 resets all of that, and the people who are waiting can't help themselves anymore. And that is probably going to be the way it goes down. But it's like, man, if they didn't have that, it would be rough going in console land right now.
Yeah, man. Anyway,
gamers to raid EA
never been a better time to be a gamer.
Yep, the gamers are activating, everybody. They're going to raid EA headquarters, raid, quote unquote, to protest the $55 billion sale to Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF as it's known. The Players Alliance, which is sort of what it sounds like, is organizing this event scheduled for May 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and has provided further details on its purpose. Gamers are planning to show up to protest at EA's headquarters. This will basically, they're going to go there and just make their voice heard. I think this is a little bit better than just some of our other options, because this is the kind of thing that can get headlines. It can draw political attention. Politicians like to know that there is political capital behind something before they throw their weight into it. And, you know, as unfortunate as it is that we have to sort of rely on feckless politicians, this is the situation where it's like, yeah, get them to show up and put pressure on anyone that might be able to break up this deal. At least gum up the works a little bit, create some friction so that it costs these companies more to even get this deal across the finish line, so that they are a little bit more hesitant in the future, even if we can't stop this one. Now, it does feel unlikely this is going to stop, because what's that? Jared Kushner's still involved in the deal. And as the last I checked, he's still related to the president. So it just feels like there's almost no chance this doesn't happen. But it's worth showing that there is turmoil and angst about this sort of thing, and that it is manifesting not in social media posts, not in people saying, I'm just going to vote with my wallet and walk away, because that's so easy for people to ignore at these companies, because there's always someone with more money. like Saudi fucking Arabia. And so when people show up and make their voices heard, that still gets attention. So this might not do anything, but I think it's the right thing to do. How do you read it?
I do really wonder if that $55 billion is looking a lot more valuable to the Saudi government now than it was when this deal was first announced.
Yeah.
Especially with ongoing rumors of like, hey, maybe there's not as much left in the tank as they're letting on. So, this being a PIF and this being like something ostensibly controlled by the Crown Prince, like they do have a shitload of money. But I wonder if they look at EA and they go, maybe this isn't the Moneyball deal that we thought it was at one point.
Yep.
When you look at the current stage of EA and how current EA games tend to hit, like I'm sure Madden and FIFA still do their ridiculous numbers, but the other stuff I'm curious about.
Same. All right. New European alternative to Unreal/Unity is being built by Guerrilla/Epic veteran. Arjun Brousse is a Guerrilla co-founder and former Unreal Engine product leader at Epic. And he's building the Immense engine, which he is pitching as a European hosted engine that is compliant with European rules and guidelines. Sounds like the Airbus of game engines, which I think is that for me as someone who likes airplanes, I'm like, that's a fun thing to think about. And then you keep reading and he's like, and it's just got to be full integration of AI, like across the board.
Also, like, no fucking idea what he means by it being like compliant with EU guidelines when those two other engines are fully operational and like they have offices in fucking Europe, both of those companies. Like what the fuck are you talking about, man?
It just means that like when you spend the money on it, it goes to someone in Europe, which, people like that kind of thing. Yeah, right. It is the kind of thing that like does happen in Boeing versus Airbus, where it's like Airbus as a European alternative. A lot of European airlines are like, we're much happier to do that. It doesn't hurt that their planes are just better as well. But more competition in the space is welcome. I think that would be nice as well. At a certain point though, it's like I thought like Crytek was the European Unreal, and it's like okay, but no one really uses Crytek in that way anymore. He just says the AI thing is like people like all other engines were made for people to click and drop down boxes with mice, and we want you to like just go and talk to the thing and tell it what you want. So okay, all right, good luck with that. Star Wars Zero Company gets age rating from agencies around the world, including the ESRB. This typically happens when a game is relatively close to release, or especially like to get a release date. This game has neither. It has not been released, and it doesn't have a release date exactly yet, other than the broad 2026 release window. This makes it feel like we're going to see this at Summer Game Fest, and it gets released not too long after that. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a game I'm quietly looking forward to. It looks really cool. That team, I really like
Bit
Marvel
Reactor.
Midnight Suns. Yeah, I really like Marvel Midnight Suns, and this gives me big Marvel Midnight Suns vibes. And I hope it comes together, and I hope it is as interesting as it looks. I will check it out if it's coming out soon. It could be a really good year for Star Wars video games.
Yes, you're right. It really could be. The early reports on this one have been very positive. So, and as a reminder, it's the single player turn-based tactics game from Bit Reactor in collaboration with Respawn and EA. And it's coming to PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. Maybe they'll announce a Switch 2 version as well. And then finally, Tomodachi Life might be selling Switch 2 systems. 40% of players are on Switch 2. And Nintendo confirmed it sold 3.8 million copies. So that's impressive stuff.
That's interesting because does it even have like a native Switch 2? Does it do anything if you play it on a Switch 2 like at all? Does it still output at 1080p?
I think it's just the typical. It might output at 1080p. It might do that, but
that's wild. Okay,
it might it's very very limited in terms of any sort of advantages because you have the Switch 2. It is not a Switch 2 version for sure. And it doesn't even recognize that a mice might be involved or whatever, a mouse might be involved.
That seems like a game that would be the easiest Switch 2 conversion in the world.
It'll happen.
Literally just let it run at 4K when docked. That's all you gotta change.
Yeah, it'll happen. It's the kind of thing where they will let this thing sort of run its course as a Switch 1 game, and as they are getting ready for content updates, which this game surely has coming, they will also prepare a Switch 2 version. Yes, I said a mice. My brain was still trying to get that word to work in sentences, and then I kept breaking. All right, that does it for the headlines, everybody. Let's go ahead and start wrapping up the show. No poll question from last Friday because we did the Bomb 12 instead. That most recent Bomb 12 is up on giantbomb.com right now. If you scroll down a little bit, you could see the games that people were really playing last week. And then on the left-hand side there's the Vote Here button. Click that. It will take you to the Google form where you could submit your game for consideration for the Bomb 12. We will wrap up this week with another one of those. But that means we do have a new poll question for Wednesday's show. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do, Lexi, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky at lexluddy.xyz. You can check out my review of Directive 8020 on Gamer Guides. You can also check out my review of Seros. I'll be reviewing another game that's coming up soon. And yeah, go check out Start Menu. It's a website for people trying to break into games media and the games industry. We do good stuff there. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/startmenu.
That is something I wanted to mention real quick, everybody. If you are already supporting us as much as you want to, go support someone else as well. And if you have to make a decision, don't feel like you have to support us. If you have been supporting us and you only have one that you could support, I get it. Take turns, spread the love around. Let's make sure.
Yeah, I deserve the money more than Grub. We all know this. That's
what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, let's get out there and just make sure we're supporting people that we like. And thank you to everyone who does support us. But yeah, let's spread the love out there to everyone working in this space. It's more vibrant and better when there's more people. And right now, it feels like that's only possible if we're all putting our money where our mouth is. So my I don't know, 20 or so Patreons that I support. I'll grow that a few more. Let's keep it going. Okay, let's see here. New poll question. Which of the... Nope, that's the old poll question. Let's go. Hey, Lexi, let's come up with a new poll question. Should do with something about Forza Horizon, Directive 8020. Let's do this. Are you going to get Forza Horizon 6 at the ultimate price? So to get it early. Are you going to do the early unlock for Forza Horizon 6 at and then we'll find out whatever that price is, yes or no. I'm curious to see how much of this audience does that sort of thing, spends the extra money to play early. I bet it's not nobody, but I bet it's not as many as we would expect. Turns out it doesn't need to be a lot to justify to these companies. All right, we'll get that poll question and get the results on Wednesday's episode of Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, there's a bunch of stuff happening. Most recently, though, store.giantbomb.com, everybody. If you go there, there are new items up on the store as part of our anniversary. It looks really cool. It's a lot of cool stuff. We had some great work done to get a couple new logos, some there's a new racing shirt that's got a bunch of different Giant Bomb logo designs on there as if we were a racing team. It's good stuff. Go ahead and make some purchases. It helps support the website. It also just makes you look fucking fly. So make that happen. And then, of course, like I said, Mike's going to begin playing Donkey Kong 64 today. It is part of a marathon. He's going to get to 101% as long as we get the support that we need. Nice. Really looking forward to seeing that all happen. I'll be hanging out with him for chunks of it for sure. Yeah, tune in for that. And then we'll have regularly scheduled stuff happening sort of alongside that. I'm pretty sure the plan is for him to play during the Bombcast. We'll all be having a regular Bombcast, and he will still have to play Donkey Kong 64. So see what that's all like.
It's a real Mario Kart endurance race situation.
100%. All right. With all that out of the way, Lexi, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Happy anniversary to you all.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.